Hi, it's Siobhan at Bow Books. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about books I did not finish. Or if you're an author or in like the booktube community or Goodreads or anything, DNF. There's a few reasons I don't finish books, and I didn't want to name any, but I thought I'd have a prop. So this is a book I did not finish. I don't like to leave books unfinished, but there are situations where it just sticks in my craw. And actually I was reading another book recently. I've read the author before. I have a lot of notes. She's someone I sort of know as well, so I don't want to like put her name out. But I did find like her book was trying to be too much all at once, but without it kind of seemed a bit aimless, and I was just like, I really want to enjoy this book. The premise is amazing. The premise of her last book that I read was really good as well, but just there's something about the execution that it just makes me want to sit there and edit. And I'm not a confident editor anyway, because like I'll go into a book and I'll be like, well, this could have been done differently and this could have been done differently, and then when I go to do it myself, I'm like, wait, no, is that the rule or not? So yeah, pinch a salt with what I say about that sort of thing. But I will talk about Gulliver's Travels being one that I did not finish, because I think it's a really good example of why I didn't finish a book. So I'm pretty easygoing about books. I think I like a good strong characterization. I like a plot that flows well. It doesn't have to necessarily be like the most amazing new book ever. It just has to have something, some kind of core, some soul to it. I don't know if that makes sense unless you're another reader as well. Yes, it doesn't have to be a particular genre. It doesn't have to be a particular, like, I love young adult, but I also like classics. I like women's literature. I don't know how they're really labeling it these days, because chick lit is a bit derogatory. I like crimes. I shove a good book at me in any genre and I will read it. Maybe not horror, because I scare easily. Well, I don't scare easily, I associate too much with gore. So if someone's getting their arm cut off, I feel like I'm getting my arm cut off, and I just don't like that. I've been through enough like surgical stuff. I don't need to like live through it again through someone else's twisted imagination. Psychological thrillers I will still watch or read. So yeah, Gulliver's Travels for me. Actually still got the marker in where I did not finish. So page 141. It says chapter 6 there, but it's written in 4 parts. So this is chapter 6 of part 3 that I stopped on. So everyone knows the story of him going to Lilliput and seeing all the little people. They know also that he moves on to the giants in the second part. I think certain adaptations, this is an example of where adaptations are better than the book, which I was talking about in one of my other videos. I think the Twilight one, wasn't it? Yeah, so I think those adaptations do a really good job of taking the core content of this book and putting it into a film or a TV show or whatever, without all the other stuff in it. Like, he's obsessed with urine for a start. I did not like that. And you know, everywhere he went with this arrogance. So you know, he was better than everyone, and society was awful. And I get quite political. Society has its issues, but I don't think you can really just decide that every person on the planet is not worth your time because you don't like a certain structure. Yeah, you got to find a fine line somewhere. So what annoyed me really was that, like I said, this is told in 4 parts, and each part is him going to a different place. By the start of the 3rd section, he was saying how tired he was of travelling and how he didn't want to do it anymore, but he went anyway. And I was like, that's the sort of thing I don't like, the lack of consistency in a characterization. So if he didn't want to travel anymore and he had no need to travel anymore, why did he? But the only reason I can think is that the first 2 places weren't enough content for him to get his money. Maybe, I don't know whether he was paid by the word, or it's quite a thin book, so maybe not, or by the chapter or whatever, but I think it was a lot of fluffing. And it felt so repetitive. So the structure of each chapter, of each part, is the same. He goes, he finds this new land, here's where it's different, here's him integrating into that society, here's where his presence in that society doesn't work. The change in infrastructure and the geographical and ecological strains that puts on a society that's already managed to find its balance, that annoyed me. So the first part is the little people, the Lilliputians, the people from Lilliput. Part 2 is the giants. Part 3 is a floating island, and part 4, I've heard, because I haven't read that bit, is a horse society, and the horses are anthropomorphic. They're sentient. Horses are sentient, but they're able to communicate with humans. Yeah, it didn't grip me. Like, I see why people only remember the Lilliput section, because that's the only part that's original in a very short book. There's only, I'm gonna have to double check this. These books, like, they're really good, but they have so much indexes and notes and... Oh, here we go. So chapter page 224 is the end. And it didn't even start at the start. That's it. That's the whole story within the book, and that's not even the worst one of my classics that does that. So yeah, I couldn't get into it. I've heard that he says how awful the little people are, how awful the giants are, how awful the floating island is, and then he falls in love with the horse society because they're horses, not people. And oh my goodness, no. I'm glad I did not read ahead. I'm glad I finished where I did on that one. There are other books I've not finished. I think I had a memory come up actually today on my Facebook, and it was another book I was like slagging off. I remember the section, I remember the book, but I think I actually finished it, and it's like all the comments on my book were like, just stop reading if you're not enjoying it. It's like, no, because I'm invested now. So even though it's bad, I like, sometimes a book can seem bad and then something happens towards the end and it's like, oh okay, and then you go back and read again with fresh eyes and it's like, oh no, actually this works really well. And I think I've said before, sometimes, or maybe it was on a video I haven't put out because I was just not in the right place in my head, and it was very rambly. But like, sometimes the things you're doing in life, the things you've just read, the things you've just watched, all have an influence on how you're going to read the next book. You could read the most incredible story and then the next book just won't measure up because you were having such a good time with those characters in that situation, reading through that plot, and then because the next book is either too similar or too different, it sticks and you can't manage it. And that's no reflection on the author or the team that put it out. It's no reflection on the book itself. It's no reflection on you. It's just the way that circumstances are. And so I always try and give a book the benefit of the doubt. I think another book I did not read, did not finish. I've also told the author this, and we've had a conversation, and she was really understanding about it. I don't know if I should mention it. She's an author who, when I had read the 50 Shades of Grey books, I couldn't understand why I didn't like them and why I was responding so negatively. And I found her blog, because she also blogs, and she was taking down every single chapter and just everything resonated, and I was so grateful for that. So when she said, oh, these are my books, and like she started bringing out she'd already brought out a series, but she brought out her new series, I was like, yes, I definitely want to read this. This sounds like, a great version of what E.L. James was probably trying to do. And the first book was amazing. I loved it. It was quite intense, and as an ace person, sometimes reading those scenes is a little bit difficult for me, or I just skip parts. And I'm like, this is not forwarding the story to me, next part. And sometimes I'm fine with it, so either way. But then I went on to the second book, and in the second book, a character's having chemo, and it's an erotic story, I should say, like an erotic series. So like they do stuff while he's having chemo, and she starts describing tasting the chemo through it all, and I couldn't finish. I couldn't go past that bit. I was like, I'm so sorry, like, you're an amazing writer, and this is why I'm having such an adverse reaction, because I can associate with it so well, and you're describing it so in depth that, like, I feel quite nauseous right now. So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't even like she's a bad author. It was just like, this is something I can't deal with, and I know my limits. And it sucked because I know the series was going to be so good, and her depth of understanding of her characters and her plots and all the elements that go into her stories is so intricate that it felt like a crime not to carry on reading it. But I had to do what was right for me, so I had to stop. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why people don't finish books, but I always try to finish books. So I was really disappointed with the book I was reading recently. I think it was about 3 books ago now. I read quite a lot. But I was just so disappointed. I was like, at 70%, I was like, there's still nothing happening. I'm still not understanding why, you know, it's in this situation. But all these, I don't know how to describe it without, it seemed like a very run-of-the-mill commentary on life, like contemporary novel, which is fine. I love those. But there was like an element with it that was trying to make it like almost a spy novel. Like if James Bond spent an entire movie just living in a small cottage in a small village, and all he did every day was, you know, lie about his past, but also just like do mundane routine things and try and build businesses. That's how the book was reading. And if you know this book, it's so specific to what it actually is. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry to the author and to anyone who enjoyed it. But I just got to a point, I was like, the spy stuff needs to come to the fore now, or it just needs to not be there, because there was so much happening with the village stuff and the characters in the village, but also with the whole spy thing, and it just didn't gel well for me. I think I needed it to be 2 separate stories. There was also a lot, not as much as in her other books, there was also a lot of showing instead of telling. Like I said, not as much in the other book. Like in the other book, we got told that they had conversations, but we didn't get to see the conversations, and that irritates me. I think because it is hard to write dialogue and to do it in a way that's similar to how people talk, but it's not impossible. And I think that really left something genuine and like heartfelt out of both stories. So yeah, then like she does a lot of recaps and stuff, and it almost feels like I'm reading the first draft. And I think that's why I go into like editing mode in my head, because I'm like, well, okay, explain this bit to me. Like one of my friends, when she and I first met, we met through fanfic.net, and she read one of my stories, and she was like, you are a great writer, but you write to the point that gets really interesting and you stop. And so I wrote this thing, and I did not hold back, and I felt kind of headed right in it actually, and I sent it to her, and she was like, well, what do you think? And she was like, so much better, here's some notes. And I think that's kind of stuck with me eternally. Thank you, Cynthia, because she's really improved my writing, and actually by doing her challenge I get better descriptions in my own stuff. So I have nothing but gratitude for Cynthia for doing that for me, even though it was so hard to write that thing for her. So I get it. I get that, you know, sometimes when you're writing, like, you're held back by your own limitations and you just need someone to give you that push, but, you know, a kind and constructive push. I feel like I'm all over the place with this. But I think also that, you know, reasons why you don't finish a book are also analytical, and I think that comes into a lot of writing. And I do write. I have a young adult novel that I'm trying to get out there. I'll probably talk about that in another video. I'm currently writing the sequel. They say you shouldn't, but honestly, this character will not shut up, and I love him to bits, so I'm just letting him run with it. And I feel like every now and again I'll be writing it and I'll be like, are we almost done? And he's like, nah. I'm like, good, because we're at like 20,000 words. This is not a story. It's like, wait. And honestly, like, that's how conversations happen in your head when you're a writer. So yeah, like, I'd love to get published. I've approached about 7 agents and got 7 rejections. Yeah. So I know it's tough out there, and I have considered self-publishing. We'll see. There's a lot of research I've got to do into that if I go that route, but I wanted to try publishing first. Actually, part of Scooby, or the Society for Children's Writers and Book Illustrators, I got that right, I hope. And we've got an agents, like, they do an agents party every year, and it was really fun last year. I met a couple of friends up there, Lisa and Jessica. Hi, if you ever got to watch this. So friends, we talk every so often because Lisa's on Twitter and I don't think Jessica's on anything. I've got a number, but we haven't really chatted. But they are both awesome people, and I can't wait to read their books when they finally come out. And our friend Hazel, sorry, yeah, Hazel's not part of Scooby as far as I'm aware. But yeah, the agents party this year is on 4 different Zoom calls every Monday coming up, so I'm excited for that. Booked that off work already. So yeah, the whole writing publishing thing is difficult, and it's such a landmine, but I think having supportive people behind your back makes it easier for people to finish your novels, unless you're Jonathan Swift. I don't know what went on there. I haven't read the notes or the intro into the story. I don't think I'm that bothered about it. I'll probably also do another video on classics at some point, because I do enjoy classics. There are some that are really special to me, like Pride and Prejudice, The Count of Monte Cristo. Oh my god, that was amazing. I'm going to say it wrong. Anna Karenina? I really have to get better at pronouncing things. I'm impressed with myself, actually, because I said Persephone right in the last video, so, or last but one. Because Greek names are my weakness, and I love Greek culture. Like, actually, I had an idea the other day for a Greek story, but that's still in the developing stage, so we'll see. Yeah, what else can I say about do not finish books, or did not finish books? I don't think there's much. I think, I'm willing to give every book a fair shot. And sometimes I just need to leave a book for forever to come back to it. Like, I really love We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver, and I think I've got another of her books, and I think I read like 3 chapters and then stopped. I don't know why I stopped, and I just haven't gone back to it. But I don't think of it as a do not finish book, because it's a we'll read again later book. Restart later. Yeah. Oh, I'm also reading my Bible as well, but I keep getting annoyed because it's a children's version and they've like straight translated it, and some of the stuff in there, it's like, you've put this for children, and you think that's an alright term for, like, I was 7 when I got it. I'm glad I didn't understand what sexual intercourse was, because I've read that phrase about 20 times in Genesis. It'd be alright if I had an adult Bible. I'd be like, yeah, okay. So yeah, I think that's it for today. That's a very rambly video. I'm so sorry. Rambling is my thing, I guess. So if you enjoyed this pile of chatter, please like and subscribe. Comment down below, and I will see you next time.